This is Victor. I'm here with a new weekly painting, and now what I want to do on a new series of videos on the next weekly paintings is to go back to the basics and to share with you some of the basic techniques I use the most when painting miniatures. And today we're going to start with the one, for me, that is one of my favorite techniques, that is doing a wash, okay, or a shade. What means to do a wash means that we are going to create some shades, some dark spots on a miniature, right? So we are going to do, so there is two ways to increase the volume or to enhance the volume of a miniature. One is doing highlights, right? As I was doing, for example, on my Spirit Host, you start highlighting and you start making lighter the parts that are more exposed to light. The other technique is to create deeper shadows, okay? So you can see this miniature is completely flat. So I will do some washes and you will see how the washes will enhance the miniature. And I will show you how the wash also can be used to tweak, to change the color. Okay, so we are going to do all the wash on this part of the miniature, and from there I want to share you how to use this technique. First I'm going to do a wash on the gold, okay? How you apply a wash is just a paint that is very thin. The texture is almost water-like, okay? Have a different, it's not really water because have a different rheology. So it does not flow like a water, and the surface tension is broken by the thinner. And what you do is you apply it over a color. You have to take into account when you apply a wash, you will darken the color that was the base, okay? So you have to take this into account where you're looking for your final result, that the color will be a little bit darker after applying a wash. You can see in the case I'm applying brown reddish wash and I'm applying Raglan Flake shade from, okay, this color from Citadel, sorry, Seraphim Sepia. No, you can apply Seraphim Sepia, I applied there. You can apply as well this one, Raglan Flake shade. So I'm going to apply Raglan Flake shade over gold, okay? And we are going to make a shade that is a little bit reddish, a little bit brown, and I think it also gives more depth and more richness to the color. Okay, I like to use the wash. You can see that after applying a wash, all these rivets are popping up, okay? So you can see. And this is what I want to share in the next videos, is wash, dry brushing, edge highlighting. So how I use all these techniques, wet blending, all these techniques, where to use it. So washes, where they work the best is when you have texture, okay? On flat zones, the wash will not do a good job. I will show you how it's working on the armor. You will see that it works differently, and it's mainly what will help is also to create deep for example, a place where you want to apply a wash is always this type of a scale armor. You will see that the scales are going to start popping up very easily, and when you apply a wash also you have to be careful that it's not pulling, okay? You can see how the scales look like after the wash, so it's really important to apply the wash. Here I'm not, and I will avoid in that case, for example, if you can see, I'm trying to avoid to go over the green parts, okay? If I go a little bit, I will clean it up later on, but be aware that wash is not the cleanest technique that you can have, but it's helping a lot to show you where you have darker spots, where you have light. And to be fair, if you are starting painting, wash is one of the best techniques that you can use, okay? Because it will give you very nice results very easily. What washes to use? And now I will give you some recommendations on washes while I'm waiting that all this wash that I did on gold is drying up, okay? So, and I will show you some of the washes that I like to use the most, and some that, yeah, I will show you what are my favorite washes. So I think washes that everybody have to have. Let's start with the one that is the most used of all. Agrax Airshade. It's a wash that works very well on red, It works very, of course, on browns, and it helps you also on metallics if you want to give a old effect on metallics. Okay, this is a key wash together with Nun oil. So these are the two washes that you should have in any collection of paints, and I have to say these ones from Games Workshop are excellent. The next ones I use the most, Seraphim Sepia and Reglan Flesh Shade. I like a lot to have a lot of golds and brass and bronzes, so these two colors are great for this type of, for these ones. Reglan Flesh Shade also works quite well when you want to do skin tones. Okay, it's giving you a nice shade. Then we have other washes that maybe are not as interesting. The Dvachi Violet, I don't use it that much. Okay, I mainly use it. You can also use it on gold, for example, this one as a second wash to give deeper shade. Then we have different greens. Okay, so I have Canothian Camo Shade. This is mainly if you have a camo shade looking like a camouflage like green. And then you have Coelia green shade when you want to go for something that is more turquoise, and then BL Tank for greens. Okay, these are not bad, but if you have a very dark green, you need to use Nun oil. For example, if you go, it depends a lot, right? If you go for a green that is like Caliban green, the green shades will do nothing. It's better to use Nun oil. If you are working with a green like this, ivory green, it's better to use Coelia green shade. Oops. And then if you use more like this type of green, I will recommend BL Tank. Okay, this type of green here. Always take into account that you want a darker color than the one that you are applying. So this is why the blue is quite dark, the orange is almost red, and I recommend. So normally I recommend to use red for the orange most of the time, unless you want, and then if you want an amber color, you use the Fuegan one, and then this Casandora yellow is for yellow. So, but I will say the most used are Aguas Air Shade, Nun oil, and Seraphim Sepia and Reglan Flesh Shade. You can see I will wait that this dries, and I will show you how I will use then the green wash over this miniature. Okay, I also want to show you one thing that the wash does excellent. We have sometimes this type of engraves on miniatures. You can see you just apply a wash and the engrave will pop up very nicely. Okay, these things, the wash is ideal for this type of engraves and this type of ornaments that you have sometimes on weapons and on other parts and armor and so on. So be aware that the wash will pop up any defect that you have in your miniatures. As well, here you can see it's popping up the rivets very nicely, and as I said, you will need to clean up later on, so especially when you have a very light color next to a wash. I try to be precise, and when you apply a wash, don't use your best brushes because it's very fluid, and we go very easily to the base of the bristles and will end up damaging the brush over time. So don't use your best brush to do a wash. And you can see the other thing that you want to avoid is that it's pulling. Okay, as you can, it's better as well. Sometimes it's better to do a couple of layers of wash than trying to make a very heavy one. If you see that it's not creating the shade that you are wishing, wait, let it dry and do a second layer. Another tip is when the wash starts drying, don't try to do any correction because it will not work, right? When it starts drying, you should not touch the wash anymore. If you have make a miss there, let it let it dry and come back later on to correct it. Okay, and you can see again, wash is a very nice technique, can work alone very easily, and be also careful that the previous layer is completely dry before you doing a wash. If not, the wash will start messing up with the base coat. Okay, So I'm waiting, I'm stopping here the video and come back for the next step. Okay, once my previous wash have dried, you can see, now I'm going to do another thing. I'm going to apply Coelia green shade. And we're going to apply this on the green. We're going to apply it everywhere, including the gold. Because we want to give a sensation of dirty all gold. What you do is, for example, I will start, and when I want to wash a full miniature, I try to start from the top and going down. The parts I will avoid are just these ones with very light green that I don't want to dirten. If I dirten a little bit, it's not going to be the end of the wall, but I want to avoid that, okay? So as you can see, I'm going down, and you want to go quite fast. As this is going to be quite, I call it a heavy wash, you don't want that the paint is pulling, so you can see what you want to do is I'm taking it and trying to spread it and coming back and see if I have some pulling anywhere and trying to push it. And why I do it on the gold, you can see that it gives a lot of depth to the gold. It will give this green shade, that is what I'm looking for. So of course, if you look for a clean gold, you don't want to do that. If you're looking for a old gold, you can do that. And I will apply it as well on the browns. And the browns, once it dries, you will see that it gives a dark shade and the green will not be that visible anymore. Remember, this is quite a thin paint, it's quite transparent. So at the end, once it dries, it's losing some intensity and it's not going to look that green anymore on the brown. Okay, and I like to do this on my Stonecast Eternals, as I want to give this sensation of old. I think it gives this sensation of gold, butter it a little bit. I don't want to give the sensation of very damage, just to create this ancient look to the armor and all the parts. Again, I applied here. You can see that it's giving you, as I said, as you have seen before on the weapon, we have a nice shade, and I will apply it as well on the purple. Okay, washes are not working very well. You can see on purple, you cannot see even any green now. Okay, so this is quite interesting when you apply these washes. Sometimes you can apply. I will never recommend, for example, here to use Nude Oil. Will make the shades too depth for my taste. I like a lot how the gold looks when you apply the green filter here, the green wash, because the green at the end it will give this green filter that it's what I was looking for at the end, right? This is very specific for my color scheme. You can see, and then if you see that it's pulling somewhere, I come back. For example, here, if I consider this too much, I come back, I apply the brush, and I remove a little bit. Here it's very, on this part, for example, it's very easy that it's pulling. You come back, you remove a little bit, then you use this one to apply it elsewhere. But again, you have to be careful that you don't put too much that is pulling, and this way I like to start from top to bottom, because then I'm dragging the paint down and I'm just ensuring, because if you go, I think when you do wash, it's always better to go from top parts to the bottom parts, okay? Because I have the feeling that then you're naturally the paint will flow down on a miniature in a way, because it will, by gravity, this paint, it's very fluid, so you can expect that part of the paint, especially for example when you have vertical channels or vertical wrinkles, that here you can expect that it will flow down as well. When you have flat areas, it will flow down as well, okay? And when it excels is when you have texture. For example, you can see on the scale mail, it's working very nicely. And just Now I'm just looking that I don't miss any spot. You want to be sure that you don't miss any spot. For example, here is pulling. I remove a little bit, so I divide the brush. This is why I put some paint on sometimes on my here on my cardboard, because I'm just removing when I see that there is excess. If you see that in some parts the paint, if there is some grease from your finger or something like that, the wash will have difficulties to hold there. So if you have this problem, just wait that it dries and do a second layer of with the wash. Okay, you can see it's not going to leave a clean finishing. You can see already here on the flat areas, for example here it's started drying. I will do now a second layer, so I want to make this part darker. Okay, and you can see on flat areas will not give a clean finishing, and this is normal. So the white normally will give this sensation of dirtiness, and what you want to do is later on come back and we will need to highlight and clean some parts. Okay, so here I'm just showing you how to apply a wash in a way that it helps you to pop up everything, but again, it's not the only technique, and normally it will need a miniature painting will need a combination of different techniques. Okay, so this is how I do the wash here. You can see how now it looks like we have much more definition of the different parts. One thing that you want to look is this, all the rivets, you want to put a touch of wash. It will go all up to the base of the rivets and will help them to pop up. Okay, so now this one is ready. We can wait that this dries, and on the ballista here I will apply Agvax Earthshade on the wood. I want to give a different finishing to the wood, not, you don't want to go that green. Okay, so I'm coming with Agvax Earthshade, and you can see it's very flat, so I don't expect here the wash to do a lot of things, but here I'm just using the wash to ensure that I have a nice dark, you will see that you have a nice dark separation between the gold and the wood parts. But naturally it will not give too much because it's a flat geometry, it's like a piece of wood and there is not too much texture. So this is all what you need to do here. Again, I will wait that this dries before doing any further step that you can see. But I think for this video, this is all what I want to show. I will wait that this dries and I show you how it looks like at the end. And this is how the miniature will look like after a wash. Okay, it looks dirty. You have some shading, but of course there will be this type of stains and some other defects that you will need to fix later on. Okay, this is normal. This is what happens when you apply a wash, and just we are keep tuned because I'm going to explain in future videos how to highlight and how to clean up the washes. There is different ways, different techniques. You can do dry brushing, you can do edge highlighting, you can do layering. Okay, so yeah, that's all what for this video. I just want to talk with you about the washes, and keep tuned because I would like to cover some basic techniques in the next weekly paintings. That's all for now. As usual, thanks a lot for watching, and see you again later. Bye.